Chapter 16 of The American Housewife. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Patty Cunningham. The American Housewife by Anonymous. Chapter 16. Puddings. 265. Directions for making puddings. A bag that is used for boiling puddings should be made of thick cotton cloth. Before the pudding is turned in, the bag should be dipped into water, wrung out, and the inside of it floured. When the pudding is turned in, tie the bag tight, leaving plenty of room for the pudding to swell out in. Indian and flour puddings require a great deal of room. Put them in a pot of boiling water with an old plate at the bottom of the pot to keep the pudding bag from sticking to it. When the pudding has been in a few minutes, turn the bag over, or the pudding will settle and be heavy. There should be water enough in the pot to cover the pudding, and it should not be allowed to stop boiling a minute. If so, the pudding will not be nice. A tea kettle of boiling water should be kept on the fire to turn in as the water boils away. When the pudding is done, dip the bag in cold water for a minute. The pudding will then come out easily. When puddings are baked, the fruit should not be put in till the pudding has begun to thicken. Otherwise, they will sink to the bottom of the pudding. 266. Hasty pudding. Wet sifted Indian meal with cold water to make a thick batter. Stir it into a pot of boiling water gradually. Boil it an hour. Then stir in sifted Indian meal by the handful till it becomes quite thick, and so that the pudding stick may be made to stand up in it. It should be stirred in very gradually, so that the pudding may not be lumpy. Add salt to the taste. Let it boil slowly, and stir it frequently to keep it from burning on the inside of the pot. If you do not wish to fry the pudding, it will boil sufficiently in the course of an hour and a half. If it is to be fried, it will be necessary to boil it an hour longer, and a little flour stirred in just before it is taken up will make it fry better. It must get perfectly cold before it is fried. When you wish to fry it, cut it in slices half an inch thick, flour them, and fry them brown in a little lard. 267. Corn puddings. Grate sweet green corn to 3 teacups of it. When grated, put 2 quarts of milk, 8 eggs, a couple of teaspoonfuls of salt, half a teacup of melted butter, and a grated nutmeg. Bake the pudding an hour. Serve it up with sauce. 268. Cracker pudding. Mix 10 ounces of finely pounded crackers with a wineglass of wine, a little salt, and half a nutmeg, 3 or 4 tablespoons of sugar, 2 of melted butter. Beat 8 eggs to a froth. Mix them with 3 pints of milk, and turn them on to the rest of the ingredients. Let it remain till the crackers begin to soften, then bake it. 269. Boiled Indian pudding. Stir enough sifted Indian meal into a quart of boiling milk or water to make a very stiff batter. Then stir in a couple of tablespoonsful of flour, 3 of sugar or molasses, half a spoonful of ginger, or a couple of teaspoonsful of cinnamon, and a couple of teaspoonsful of salt. 2 or 3 eggs improve the pudding, but are not essential. Some people like a little chopped suet in them. The pudding will boil, so as to be very good, in the course of 3 hours, but it is better for being boiled 5 or 6 hours. Some cooks boil them 8 or 9 hours. When boiled so long, it is necessary to boil them several hours the day before they are to be eaten. 270. Baked Indian pudding. Boil a quart of milk, and turn it on to a pint of sifted Indian meal. Stir it in well so as to scald the meal. Then mix 3 tablespoonsful of wheat flour with a pint of milk. The milk should be stirred gradually into the flour, so as to have it mix free from lumps. Turn it on to the Indian meal. Mix the whole well together. When the whole is just lukewarm, beat 3 eggs with 3 tablespoonsful of sugar, stir them into the pudding, together with 2 teaspoonsful of salt, 2 of cinnamon or a grated nutmeg, and a couple of tablespoons of melted butter or suet chopped fine. Add, if you wish to have the pudding very rich, half a pound of raisins. They should not be put in till the pudding has baked 5 or 6 minutes. If raisins are put in, an additional half pint of milk will be required, as they absorb a great deal of milk. A very good Indian pudding may be made without eggs. if half a pint more of meal is used and no flour. It takes 3 hours to bake an Indian pudding without eggs. If it has eggs in, it will bake in much less time. 271. Minute Pudding. Put a pint and a half of milk on the fire. Mix 5 large tablespoonfuls of either wheat or rye flour smoothly with half a pint of milk, a teaspoonful of salt, and half of a grated nutmeg. When the milk boils, stir in the mixed flour and milk. Let the whole boil for 1 minute, stirring it constantly. Take it from the fire, let it get lukewarm, then add 3 beaten eggs. Set it back on the fire, and stir it constantly until it thickens. Take it from the fire as soon as it boils. 272. Boiled Bread Pudding. Take about 3/4 of a pound of bread, cut it into small pieces, and soak them soft in cold water. Then drain off the water, mash the bread fine, and mix with it 2 tablespoonfuls of flour, 3 eggs, a teaspoonful of salt, a tablespoonful of melted butter, and cold milk sufficient to make it a thick batter. Mix the whole well together, then turn it into a floured pudding bag. Tie it up so as to leave room for the pudding to swell. Boil it an hour and a half without any intermission. Serve up the pudding with rich sauce. 273. A plain baked bread pudding. Pound rusked bread fine to 5 heaping tablespoonfuls of it. Put a quart of milk, 3 beaten eggs, 3 tablespoonfuls of rolled sugar, a teaspoonful of salt, half a nutmeg, and 3 tablespoonfuls of melted butter. Bake it about an hour. It does not need any sauce. 274. Rich Bread Pudding. Cut a pound loaf of baker's bread into thin slices. Spread butter on them as for eating. Lay them in a pudding dish, sprinkle between each layer of bread seeded raisins and citron cut in small strips. Beat 8 eggs with 4 tablespoonfuls of rolled sugar. Mix them with 3 pints of milk, half of a grated nutmeg. Turn the whole onto the bread, and let it remain until the bread has absorbed full half of the milk. Then bake it about 3/4 of an hour. 275. Flour Pudding. Into a pint and a half of sifted flour, stir gradually so that it may not be lumpy, a quart of milk. Beat 7 eggs, and put in together with a couple of tablespoonfuls of melted butter and a couple of teaspoonfuls of salt. Grate in half of a nutmeg. Add, if you want the pudding very rich, half a pound of raisins. They should not be put into a baked pudding till it has been cooking long enough to thicken, so that the raisins will not sink to the bottom of it. A pudding made in this manner is good either baked or boiled. It takes 2 hours to boil, and an hour and a quarter to bake it. When boiled, the bag should not be more than 2/3 full, as flour puddings swell very much. It should be put into boiling water, and kept boiling constantly. If the water boils away, so as to leave any part of the bag uncovered, more boiling water should be added. When the pudding has boiled 8 or 9 minutes, the bag should be turned over, otherwise the pudding will be heavy. Flour puddings should be eaten as soon as cooked, as they fall directly. Serve them up with rich sauce. 276. Boiled Rice Pudding. Put 2 teacups of rice into a quart of boiling water. Add a couple of teaspoonfuls of salt, and let the rice boil till soft. Then take it from the fire, stir in a quart of cold milk, and half a pound of raisins, or omit the raisins, and substitute any other fruit that you may like. Beat a couple of eggs, and put in together with half a grated nutmeg. Set the whole on the fire, and let it boil till the fruit is soft. Serve it up with butter and sugar. 277. A baked rice pudding without eggs. Pick over and wash 2 small teacups of rice, and put into 2 quarts of milk. Melt a small teacup of butter, and put in, together with 2 of sugar, a grated nutmeg, and a couple of teaspoonfuls of salt, and bake the pudding about 2 hours. This pudding does not need any sauce, and is good either hot or cold. If you wish to have the pudding very rich, add, when it has been baking 5 or 6 minutes, half a pound of raisins. 278. Rice Pudding with Eggs. Boil a quarter of a pound of unground rice in a quart of milk till soft. Then stir in a quarter of a pound of butter. Take it from the fire, put in a pint of cold milk, a couple of teaspoonfuls of salt, and a grated nutmeg. When it is lukewarm, beat 4 eggs with 1/4 pound of sugar, and stir it into the pudding. Add 1/2 pound of raisins, and turn the whole into a buttered pudding dish, and bake it 3/4 hour. 279. Ground Rice Pudding. Mix 1 1/2 pints of ground rice smooth with a quart of milk. Stir in a glass of wine, 1/4 pound of melted butter, a teaspoonful of salt, and spice to the taste. Beat 8 eggs, and stir them in. Turn the whole into a buttered pudding dish, and when it has baked a few minutes, add 1/2 pound of raisins, or Zante currants. 280. Rice Snowballs. Pare small tart apples, and take out the cores with a small knife. Fill the cavity with a stick of cinnamon or mace. Put each one in a small floured bag, and fill the bags about half full of unground rice. Tie up the bags so as to leave a great deal of room for the rice to swell. Put them in a pot of water with a tablespoonful of salt to a couple of quarts of water. The bags of rice should be boiled in a large proportion of water, as the rice absorbs it very much. Boil them about 1 hour and 20 minutes, then turn them out of the bags carefully into a dessert dish, and garnish them with marmalade cut in slices. Serve them up with butter and sugar. 281. Cream Pudding. Beat 6 eggs to a froth, then mix with them 3 tablespoonfuls of powdered white sugar, the grated rind of a lemon. Mix 1 pint of milk with 1 pint of flour, 2 teaspoonfuls of salt, then add the eggs and sugar. Just before it is baked, stir in 1 pint of thick cream. Bake it either in buttered cups or a pudding dish. 282. Custard Pudding. Stir a quart of milk very gradually into 1/2 pint of flour. Mix it free from lumps, and put to it 7 eggs beaten with 3 tablespoonfuls of sugar, a teaspoonful of salt, and 1/2 of a grated nutmeg. Bake it 3/4 hour. 283. Rennet Pudding. Put cleaned calves rennet into white wine, in the proportion of a piece 3 inches square to a pint of wine. It will be fit for use in the course of 7 or 8 hours. Whenever you wish to make a pudding, put 3 tablespoonfuls of the wine to a quart of sweet milk, and 4 tablespoonfuls of powdered white sugar. Flavor it with rose water or essence of lemon. Stir it 20 minutes, then dish it out, and grate nutmeg over it. It should be eaten in the course of an hour after it is made, as it soon curdles. 284. Fruit Pudding. Make a good common pie crust. Roll it out 1/2 inch thick, and strew over it any of the following kinds of fruit: cherries, currants, gooseberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, or cranberries. A thick layer of marmalade spread on is also very nice. Sprinkle over the fruit a little cinnamon or cloves and sugar. If the pudding is made of gooseberries, currants, or cranberries, a great deal of sugar will be necessary. Roll the crust up carefully, join the ends so that the fruit will not drop out, and lay the pudding in a thick white towel that has been previously dipped into water and floured. Baste up the towel, and lay it carefully in a pot of boiling water, with a plate at the bottom of it. Boil it an hour, and serve it up with rich liquid sauce. For a baked fruit pudding, make a batter of wheat flour or Indian meal with milk and eggs. Mix the ingredients in the proportion of 1 pint of flour and 6 eggs to a quart of milk. Put to each quart of milk a pint of fruit, and sugar to the taste. 285. A Quaking Pudding. Slice up 3/4 pound of baker's bread. Beat 8 eggs to a froth, stir in several large spoonfuls of sugar, and mix it with a quart of milk, a grated nutmeg. Turn it on to the sliced bread. Let the whole remain till the bread has soaked up most of the milk, then stir in a couple of tablespoonfuls of flour, a teaspoonful of salt, and turn it into a pudding bag and boil it an hour. Serve it up with rich sauce. 286. Lemon Pudding. Grate the rind of 2 fresh lemons, being careful not to grate any of the white part. Squeeze the juice out of the lemons, and strain it to separate it from the seeds. Mix it with 6 large spoonfuls of fine white sugar. Take a quart of milk, and mix it with the rind of the lemons, a couple of tablespoons full of pounded crackers, and a tablespoonful of melted butter. Beat 6 eggs to a froth, and stir them into the milk. Stir in the lemon juice and sugar last, and then turn the whole into a pudding dish that has a lining and rim of puff paste. Bake it from 25 to 30 minutes. It should not be eaten till it is cold. 287. Almond Pudding. Turn boiling water on 3/4 of a pound of sweet almonds. Let them remain in it till the skins will slip off easily. Rub the skins off with a dry cloth. When they are perfectly dry, pound them fine, with a tablespoonful of rose water. Beat 6 eggs to a froth, then mix them with 4 tablespoonfuls of powdered sugar. Put them into a quart of milk with 3 tablespoonfuls of pounded crackers, 1/4 pound of melted butter, 4 ounces of citron, and the pounded almonds. Line a pudding dish with pastry, put round it a rim of puff paste, turn in the pudding, and bake it about half an hour. The pudding should be eaten cold. 288. Tapioca Pudding. To a quart of warm milk, put 8 tablespoonfuls of tapioca. Let it soak till it softens, then stir it up, and put to it a couple of tablespoonfuls of melted butter, 4 beaten eggs, and cinnamon or mace to the taste. Mix 4 tablespoonfuls of white powdered sugar with a wineglass of wine, and stir it into the rest of the ingredients. Turn the whole into a pudding dish that has a lining of pastry, and bake it immediately. 289. Sago Pudding. Rinse half a pound of sago in hot water till it is thoroughly cleansed. Then drain off the water and boil the sago in a quart of milk with a stick of cinnamon or mace. Stir it constantly or it will burn. When soft, take it from the fire, take out the stick of cinnamon, and put in 1/4 pound of butter. Mix a wineglass of wine with 4 large spoonfuls of fine white sugar, and stir it into the sago. Add, when cold, 5 beaten eggs, and bake the pudding in a deep dish with a lining and rim of pastry. Strew over the pudding 1/4 pound of Zante currants, and bake it directly in a quick oven. It is the best when cold. 290. Orange Pudding. Stir to a cream 6 ounces of white powdered sugar, with 4 of butter. Then add a wineglass of wine, the juice and chopped peel of a couple of large fresh oranges. Beat 8 eggs to a froth, the whites and yolks separately. Mix them with a quart of milk, a couple of ounces of citron cut in small strips, and a couple of ounces of pounded crackers. Mix all the ingredients well together. Line a pudding dish with pastry, put a rim of puff paste round the edge of the dish, and then turn in the pudding, and bake it in a quick oven about half an hour. 291. Bird's Nest or Transparent Pudding. Pare and halve tart mellow apples. Scoop out the cores. Put a little flour and water in the hollow of each apple, so as to form a thick paste. Then stick 3 or 4 Zante currants in each one. Butter and line a pudding dish with pastry. Put on a rim of puff paste, and lay in the apples with the hollow side up. Have just enough apples to cover the bottom of the dish, and stick citron cut in very long narrow strips round the apples. Stir to a cream 1/2 pound each of butter and fine white sugar. Beat the yolks and whites separately of 8 eggs to a froth, and mix them with the butter and sugar. Flavor it with nutmeg, and set it on a few coals. Stir it constantly till quite hot. Take it from the fire, stir till nearly cold, then turn it over the apples, and bake it directly. 292. English Plum Pudding. Soak 3/4 pound of crackers in 2 quarts of milk. They should be broken in small pieces. When they have soaked soft, put in 1/4 pound of melted butter, the same weight of rolled sugar, 1/2 pint of wheat flour, a wineglass of wine, and a grated nutmeg. Beat 10 eggs to a froth, and stir them into the milk. Add 1/2 pound of seeded raisins, the same weight of Zante currants, and 1/4 pound of citron cut in small strips. Bake or boil it a couple of hours. End of Chapter 16. Recording by Patty Cunningham.